What's up, guys? Be here, and this is how I trade. I start on my daily trading day. So on a daily basis, I first of all go to forex factory, forexfactory.com, and that's because I need to see what news events are playing out on this day. So, when I open my forex factory, I get to know the pairs that I have to look at and the pairs of which I'll have to stay away. So today is Monday, the 4th of September, and the major news that we have so far is on CHF and all of that. We have bank holidays on CAD, and we have bank holidays on the US dollar. And later during the afternoons, we have news on euro. So I know that I need to stay away from the US dollar since today is a bank holiday. Then we'll have a lot of uncertainties in the market. And after that, I have to choose a pair of which I will trade. Now, I like to trade the pound versus the Japanese yen. If you've been following my videos so far, you should have noticed me trading pound yen most of the times. So I'm using my mobile phone now to make a maximum use of it, or make sure that my phone is on auto rotate. Once I'm auto rotate, then I'll change my phone to landscape so that I'll be able to see the screen as much as possible. And as a routine, I always do top-down analysis, means I start from a higher time frame. Most of the time, I start from 1 day or so, but depending on the type of trader you are, if you are a trader who keeps trade for a comparatively long time in the market, then you might want to even go right up to the 1 week. Well, for this trade, let's start with 1 hour. With 1 hour, I can, or with the 4 hours rather, I can maximize or minimize my screen to be able to see a lot about the market. So far, I can establish the fact that this is an overall downtrend. The market was moving. The market has been moving for a while towards the downward direction as so. I'll click on my tools and click on the trend line. The market has been moving towards the downward direction as such from this point right down to this point here. Now this is just an indication, not really a trend line that I'm drawing. So the market is moving from this point right down to this point here. So for a long time the market has not uh, had made this particular support zone here, and when it did, the market has not really come back down to this point. So we understand that this is probably signals of a reversal, and then after that we are starting to see some chart patterns forming within the higher time frame. So now that I've gotten the overall view of the market just for certainty, I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and I'm going to drop to the 1 day time. Let me see things in a much more bigger uh, okay, the market has been falling for a long time, that is for sure. The market has been falling for a long time until the market was making consecutive for lower lows, like at this point here. At this point here, the market made the lower low. It made the lower low here, but after this, the low immediate was high, and that's a sign to show that the overall downtrend is coming to an end. And comparatively, right now we have a new upward possible movement from this point going towards the upward direction. Now that we've established that the market has made a low that is comparatively much more higher than the previous lows, then this could be a possible uptrend. Now, we're not going to heavily go into the trade, but we can continue to move down into lower time frames to confirm our analysis. I'm going to drop down to a lower time. I'll drop down to 2 hours, and okay, this is what we see. Now, the market is trending towards the upward direction, but it's doing that very steadily. I can identify this. I'm just delete this. This was from a longer time frame, but you can actually spot that out, some sort of resistance, or draw it as a zone rather. From this point here, you can spot something out like this, and the market has actually been expecting it. So we're expecting that if the market is to further move, if the market is to further move towards the downward direction, then the market is going to hit this at some point here, and uh, but the market has already been selling, so we should have missed a couple of the move. Let me go down to 1 hour time. We have missed quite the entry. Now this is the London session, and most of the times I trade London session, especially or exactly when the market is about to open. We notice that there was even a break of a money line like this. We went through a money line like this, and yeah, there was a break of a money line, actually triggering to trigger our sell entry, but by then we're not onto this trade yet. Now, aside from this, we can also identify a point at this level here. The market expected some point at this level. So at this particular level, we can see that we can be tempted to think that there's a possible formation of a reverse head and shoulder, where we have at this point here, we have the left shoulder, the head, and if the price move from up here right down here and then reverses, then we have uh, the right shoulder forming. So okay, but we don't insinuate that we cannot predict that until the right shoulder actually has formed, and then we further guide the market towards the upward direction. So right now we just have to wait. Okay, entering a sell right now is not the best idea because the market has already moved a lot, and the market is actually on top of a. Let me draw this out so that you guys can see this point here. This point right here, like this. It's quite big. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, the market is actually on top of a, a resistance. It's not like a support. It's actually a resistance at this point here. It's actually a resistance at this point here. So because it's a resistance, it does not really disturb the market from further falling. Okay, so we need to keep on waiting now because it's not the perfect time for entry. Probably we need to wait for the market to come towards here, and if it continues going further, it could come towards here, and then from there the market bounce here, forming a head and shoulder, and go up. Then we enter a long, but nothing is certain yet. We'll wait for the perfect entry. So with this, I can even make a judgment on a higher time frame without really moving down to the 15-minute time, of which I often look for my entry. So, and I have to wait for a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to go to my next pair that I often trade. Let's take a look at it again. And this is the Euro Australian dollar. I like to trade this pair a lot because I find it heavy. And again, the routine is we start with a higher time frame. Let's just go to the 1 day time. And the 1 day time, if I squeeze my charts, you see that the movement or the price, the market has been ranging for a while, ranging until there's a common low that we see. Once you're analyzing your phone, if you are not really vigilant, then you'll not be able to see some things. Now, we notice that the market is actually in a high. The market is in a current high. We look at this is the highest high it has gotten to in a while. You had the double top forming here. The market pushed down, break the support lines that were here, and it's been pushing down. We have some sort of break, and okay, let me zoom in really much. You have a lot of lines because this is 1 day. This is the 1 day time, and if you are I spotted out on my psychological level. Let's go to the most recent candlesticks to see what is happening. Okay, if we see the type of candlestick patterns that are forming here, you'll not really be able to tell. If you go down to a lower time frame, you think that this is an overall uptrend. But looking at the 1 day time so far, I think this is a retest rather. And I can spot a retest to this point here. In fact, I'm always having a bias to this market right at the 1 day time. But if I draw this on the 1 day time, it's really going to be very, very big when I move down to a smaller time frame, like at 1 hour time, and we don't want that. It has given us a point to go on. Now, this is where things become tricky. Looking at this just randomly, you start to think that this can be a reverse head and shoulder. And let me delete this from the charts. Let's not distort our biases. Let me go down to okay, we're in the 1 hour time. Already, we skipped the 4 hours time frame. Now, moving towards multiple timing is just to see what is happening in the market. Right now, you can see uh, a lot of lines, but let's just follow the price movement. Overall, the price has been moving from the top here towards the down, making a lot of retest, impulse, retest, impulse, retest, impulse until it got to this point. So this particular point that the price has gotten there, what is preventing it from going further? That is the major question now. We might even need to squeeze the chart more than this to see if we see a point behind. If there's no point behind, then we can go ahead to confirm that is just a retest to gather momentum to keep on going towards the downward direction still. Okay, now with that in mind, let's look at what is currently actually happening in the market. What is happening? Price has been trending downward for a bit, like so. We had this trend, and it's trending downward. It came and then found support at this level here. Now this support is valid till it's broken. Now the price has bounced on this support and it has gone up. We have a bullish rectangle that has formed. It has broken the bullish rectangle to the top side. It has retested and the price is going up. So I'm looking at a good. This is already sign for me to start thinking of going long. But if the market is going up, then we have a limit at around this point, which has not really a lot. Let's go down to a lower time frame to 1 hour again and see. Okay, now this is the 1 hour timing. We have our triangle here. We have retracement moving towards the upward direction. I'm going to draw a horizontal line at this point. Now, if this is not too visible for you, right? If this is not too visible for you, then you need to practice more. Most of the times, I like to make my candlesticks small so I get to see a bigger picture of everything, especially when I'm using a mobile device. Now, I want to make an assumption that the current candlestick here has the current candlestick that you see, this green candlestick, of which is actually a bearish candlestick. Uh, my chart configuration now, red is actually a bull and green is a bear candle based on the coloring pattern that I have set. Okay, now if you take a look, or if we make the assumption that this is a retest, then this is actually quite a good retest. Now we have spotted a point here. We have spotted a point here as a retest. Then what do we expect to happen? The price to continue or to further move ahead. So this is one sensation what I use to place entries, and the logic behind is overall we are talking about statistics, and statistically, if my assumption is correct here that the price, this is actually a retest happening, as we can see price has retest towards this direction, then this is a very good entry for you to make, because further retest or further movement of the price below this support zone that I've indicated actually tells me that it's not a retest and the price is actually moving towards the downward direction, and I was wrong. But the good news is my stop loss is going to be very, very much tight. So even if I'm wrong, I'll get to lose just a couple of bucks as compared to what I'm going to make. So I have a greater potential of making much more profit. I'll move down to 45 minutes, and I think this is a good time to actually go long. I'll click on my positions again. Like I said, the configurations of my chart is quite much more different. The long position, if I'm going long at this particular point, red is bullish again rather than the traditional way that red is always bearish and all of that. So now this is my target. Now I'm going to go ahead and reduce my screen a little bit so that you can move this to the left so that you can see. Now looking at my chart, I'll move it to the next support point. Remember this white horizontal line I drew earlier. Now if you look at my risk to reward ratio, I always say keep a little bit of breathing space, so I'll bring my stop loss a little bit much more down, should in case we have a week out. It should not stop us out on the trade and continue moving towards that direction and all of that. I'm targeting 129 pips, but my stop loss is 28 pips. You do the math. Because of my color configuration, you're not really going to evaluate it that much. Do the math and you get to see what I say. But you see, this is 1:5 plus. 1:5 plus. So if I'm risking $10 in this particular trade, then I'm expecting to make $50, and that is not bad. That is not bad at all. Now, with that said,